Thank you so much, Luciani. And again, thank you so much, Olivia, for making the time to join us. In fact, today we just have one student, but we're going to go through the session. So the Masters of Science in Humanitarian Studies is offered by the Institute of International Humanitarian Affairs, which is part of Fordham University. It's located at Rose Hill. And, of course, we always hope that our students will spend time at the Institute. The Institute, in addition to the academic programs, also offers several other programming. For example, we have a refuge press, we have a gallery, we have podcasts, and we have a whole host of research areas such as graphics, advocacy and human rights, food insecurity and conflict, innovations in shelter, design for humanity, water, climate change, and migration. The Institute also hosts conferences, symposiums, and webinars. And then in addition to the Masters of Science in Humanitarian Studies, we also have an undergraduate bachelor's in Humanitarian Studies. We have the International Diploma in Humanitarian Affairs, and we offer several certificates. Now, why a Master of Science in Humanitarian Studies? So, for us, really, it's, if you're interested in humanitarian studies, then you are suddenly following events that are going around the world. This year, according to OCHA, when the year started in January, 239 million people around the world were in need of humanitarian assistance. The main drivers of this crisis or pushing people in need of humanitarian assistance is, conflict being the big one. So we continue to see new conflict, but also protracted conflict. If you look at countries like Sudan, South Sudan, DRC, Ukraine, Lebanon, currently there's war now in Iran and Lebanon as well, I just said. And the conflict continues to be the main driver of humanitarian crisis. But then we also see, and also in terms of the magnitude of it. So when we look at numbers, we look at, almost this year, at the beginning of this year, 1 out of 5 children was living in or fleeing conflict. 1 out of 73 people is displaced. But we also see, of course, the global climate emergency, which is a multiplier. In many cases, what we see, both poverty and climate change and natural disasters tend to really impact people who are already vulnerable, who are already facing conflict. And we definitely see an overlap between economic factors with conflict, infectious diseases, and climate change, as I said earlier. And then as all of these things happen, we are also cognizant of things that are changing at the political level. We look at the geopolitics, we look at the changes in funding, we look at changes in member states and the level of support. When we look at some of the support for humanitarian access, for IHL, respect for IHL, protection of civilians. And so because of all of these challenges, because of the magnitude of the needs, this is why we continue to really invest in this program or in the academic programs, because ultimately we are teaching our students to go out in the world and help to prevent the drivers of humanitarian crisis, but also to respond in an effective and efficient way. What are the learning goals of the Masters? So at the end of the program, we hope that students are able to demonstrate comprehensive understanding of how humanitarian assistance is delivered and its effectiveness. We hope students to really understand the ethical principles and legal frameworks that underpin humanitarian affairs, to demonstrate, strong skills to conduct independent research. But our students really learn from an extensive network of humanitarian professionals. In a few minutes, I'll invite Professor Anne Egerton, who's online with us, who has been teaching with us for a long time, who's an experienced humanitarian professional, to talk about some of her classes. The key elements of the master's itself is it is one of the few programs in the United States that is exclusively focused on international humanitarian affairs. Our classes start in the evenings at 5:30 p.m., which makes it easier to accommodate professionals professionals who are working and at the same time who are studying. We are, as Luciani said earlier, Fordham is in New York, and that just also gives students access, for example, to a whole host of UN organizations, since it's, New York is the main headquarters for the UN, nonprofits. New York has a vibrant domestic nonprofit sector, but also international nonprofits. And of course, New York is host to a whole range of different universities, which gives opportunities for internships, for research, and for networking. And students also engage with a large network of alumni, both here, but also internationally. The program itself, to complete it, students have to finish 30 credits. 15 of those are core classes, which are 5 courses: Fundamentals of Humanitarian Action, Contemporary Issues in Humanitarian Action, Information Management, Humanitarian Resource Management, and then Monitoring and Evaluation. And then students do 4 courses as electives, which gives students 12 credits in the concentrations of human rights, communities and capacity building, livelihoods and institutions. And then students have to do an internship or independent study, which is 1 credit. And then they have to do a thesis, which is 2 credits. We have a whole host of electives that students can select from. And I work with students. I'm the advisor for all of our students. So I really work with students to see how they can complement the core classes with the electives. And the electives are a great opportunity for students to really focus on some of their interests. So if you're interested in forced migration, if you're interested in health, but again, as I mentioned earlier, Professor Ann is here with us, and I'll invite her to share a few words about her classes. Ann.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the introduction, Ruth. Hi, my name is Ann Edgerton, and I am pleased to offer a few of the courses that are included in the MSHS program for Fordham's IIHA. I teach Humanitarian Fundamentals, which will be offered again this fall as an asynchronous course, because as Ruth mentioned, we want to make it convenient for you to check in, follow the lectures, do the readings, contribute your writings and your thoughts to class discussions, but we can host those over the computer asynchronously. So I am actually in the process of transforming my synchronous course of Humanitarian Fundamentals into an asynchronous format. And so this fall you would check in, and each week would have under a module a number of readings to look at, to examine the institutional origins of humanitarian assistance, and then look at the contemporary plane, because in the IIHA program, we do like to wed the theory with practice. And as I was a practicing humanitarian for 2 decades, but now read a lot about the theory behind the practice, I like to offer that knowledge and the wed of the two in my classes. I also teach contemporary issues, which will be offered next spring, and humanitarian advocacy, which I call communicating the need and motivating the response. That'll be offered this fall as a synchronous course, Wednesday evenings at 5:30. And so with the weekly check-in, you would go about parsing what humanitarian advocacy is first, and then doing the practical exercises around understanding the tools and tactics that are behind advocacy advocacy that we do in our daily lives, but make it humanitarian, and then understand how an advocacy campaign can be created and rolled out as well. So that's what I have on offer, and I'm happy to answer any questions or give any more information, Ruth, if you would like it.
Thank you so much. And we'll leave it there for now, and then students can ask questions later. Getting to the IDHA. So we also have Martine, who's going to talk about the International Diploma in Humanitarian Assistance. Students who sign up for the Masters of Science in Humanitarian Studies can have an option to do the International Diploma in Humanitarian Assistance. And again, this is a great program. It's a 4 weeks program. And I'm going to invite Martine to say a few words about the IDHA.
Thanks, Ruth, and thank you for having me here on the MSHS presentation. As Luciani has kindly introduced me already, my name is Martine van der Doest. I'm the Helen Hamlin Humanitarian Fellow and Global Program Director, amongst others, for the International Diploma in Humanitarian Assistance. The International Diploma in Humanitarian Assistance, or the IDHA, is maybe a bit of an odd one out. It's a 4 weeks intensive course, and it's held around the world in various locations. And you get to take this course together with humanitarian practitioners. So people who work in the field on a daily basis and face the challenges you learn in your MSHS program. The IDHA has been around since 1997, so even before the MSHS started. And it was established because at that time there was no humanitarian education around, and the inventors or the establishers of the course, they thought, why do doctors have to get a degree, and nurses and lawyers, but humanitarians don't? So that's why they set up the International Diploma in Humanitarian Assistance. Can I change the slides, or should someone else do that for me? Yeah, thanks. So the IDHA focuses on 4 key learning objectives. One is humanitarian policy, architecture, and law. These are really the fundamentals and the basics of humanitarian aid. And we really give this to get all the students at the same level for the rest of the course. Then we focus on humanitarian sectors and standards. So we look at the sphere standards, for example. These are basic standards in the humanitarian sector, but we also look at WASH and health. And so WASH is water, sanitation, and hygiene, and health and humanitarian shelter. A lot of different sectors we touch upon, and you get to discuss with your peers in class as well. Then we have aid workers leadership, team building, and well-being. So we provide management training, team building training on the course as well, because a lot of people take this course to really step into management roles in the humanitarian sector. Then the last, and I think at present, looking at the challenges the world is facing, we're looking at humanitarian ethical debates and challenges, and there will be a lot of discussion on world problems or world conflicts or humanitarian issues. As I said, it's a 4-week intensive course, so it means that you're actually going for 4 weeks to a location to take the course. We're actually at this time finishing up the course in Pretoria. It's in the 4th week, so students will be taking their exams and their group work exams this week. You stay at a hotel with the other students, so there's a lot of interaction. There's outside classes work you have to do in groups. There's presentations, we have field trips, so we actually go, because we're in location closer to the humanitarian response, you go to the field and see how humanitarian organizations work in the field. I have 2 examples of class days, what they look like. And you can see we have various topics. on the program, and these are full days. So you start usually around 8:45 or 9 o'clock, and you continue until 5 p.m. But then it doesn't stop because you have evening works and studying for exams. It's an intensive program, but it's also a very nice program. I did it myself in 2008, and I'm still in touch, and I still benefit from the network I built on that course. So even if you're just starting in the humanitarian sector, you will by taking this course, you will get a network of humanitarian practitioners and humanitarian organizations already at the start of your career, which could really benefit you. Next slide. Yes, so as I mentioned, the IDHA 62, we're just finishing it up right now. And the next IDHA is planned for November in Bangkok in Thailand. And then Ruth, I hand back over to you.
Thank you so much. And one thing to also note for students is when you opt to take the IDHA, it does give you some savings because the price for the IDHA is cheaper than the credits on the MSHS. So students, you get 8 credits at a cheaper price. So that's something to think about as a way to reduce some of the costs for the program. Our students also can opt to study, to be part of the study exchange program of the Network on Humanitarian Action. This is an association of European universities, and Fordham is the only American university that's a part of that network. So some of the universities that are part of this network are Malta, Deusto in Spain, University College Dublin. There's a university in Poland and in Germany and a few other universities. Students who opt to do this, they'll do this in fall of their semester. And it's another great opportunity for students to really, again, dig deeper in their own interests. So some of the universities, for example, Malta is a big university on forced migration. Some of the other universities are strong on human rights. And so students, again, this is an opportunity for students to specialize a little bit more in their studies. In terms of career options, once you finish the program, candidates with the master's degree, we tend to find they are favored when applying for early career positions in humanitarian organizations. Some students are able, especially those who are already working in the sector, are able to be considered for promotions. Many of our students, end up to work, as program managers, project managers, overseeing complex projects. But they also end up in a wide array of different organizations, for example, in development, finance, communications, of course, the nonprofit sector, the United Nations, foundations, think tanks, the private sector, and academia. These are some of the student voices from some of our students who took the program. Again, talking a little bit in terms of their positive experience. Some of them really appreciated learning about the theory of humanitarian work, the policy framework, the legal framework, and then to really understand how to work with people. This is another student of ours who is currently now working with World Food Program, and she felt the program made her stronger or gave her stronger skills to be able to work in disaster response, human rights advocacy, and emergency crisis. And then we also have, this is for Fordham students, where we have the accelerated master's program. And here Fordham students who opt to do it get a 30% tuition savings. and they have no application fee, and they'll be able to graduate with a master's and a bachelor's, and the whole process would, be completed in 5 years. Okay, I'll hand back to Lucienne.
In regards to student resources, we have the Career Center for Career Personalis and the Office of Counseling and Psychological Services. We also have the Office for the Vice President and for Equity and Inclusion, Office of Disability Services, Office of International Services, which is good for international students, highly recommended, Office of Fellowship Advising, and Fordham Veteran Center. We have more opportunities also that can be seen on the website, which we will share shortly. Okay. In regards to admissions, the program specific application is reviewed by committee. It's a very holistic review by the Office of Admissions and the GSAS Dean. The decisions are then communicated directly from the Office of Admissions via email. In regards to application requirement, we expect our applicants to have a 3.0 or higher undergraduate GPA based on a 4.0 scale. We also require the submission of academic transcripts, specifically official transcripts, meaning they must come directly from the institution. It can't be uploaded by the students. Transcript evaluations are also required for international institutions. Also a resume / or cover letter, a statement of intent, a writing sample that should be between 5 to 10 pages. And in regards to standardized test scores, we do not require the GRE, but we do require a language test if you are from a foreign country. And you must also upload 2 letters of recommendation. In regards to funding, we don't have a lot of funding available for specifically the MSHS program, unfortunately. So we do highly recommend students to seek external opportunities. These are just some examples listed here. Also, for need-based financial aid, definitely look into FAFSA, loans, payment plans. We do have very, very limited merit-based scholarships still available actually for the fall. So if you are interested in this specific opportunity, we do recommend registering and completing your application as soon as possible. Okay. I will also be sharing some important links. This is just the general contact for GSAS and also Ruth's email if you have any program specific questions. If you have if you would like to discuss the MSHS in more detail, please contact Ruth. If you have any questions regarding the application itself, I will share the IIHA email shortly. And I will open up for any questions.
Yes. First, thank you everyone for your time. This has been incredibly insightful and very helpful going forward. My main question that just I'm thinking about is I'm pretty sure I enrolled in, or not officially, but I applied for this fall the asynchronous fundamentals of humanitarian action. I was wondering if I officially took that, and then when that was completed, decided that applying for the master's would be the right fit for me. How would that go about in terms of the overlap of taking the class again, or?
So in regards to your specific situation, you would just if you're considering the MSHS program, I do highly recommend taking the course for credit. Because if you take it as a a certificate course or for no credit, it would not be transferable. So if you already applied, you can try to get it for credit. In addition, you said this is the fundamentals,
Correct, yes.
and you're interested specifically in the MSHS program. So yes, that would need to be specified so you can be billed according to the price per credit for the MSHS program. And then in the future, if you are interested, it shouldn't be an issue. I don't know the specific process, but using those credits for the program, but you would still need to reapply for the MSHS program when the time comes.
Also, if you haven't started the process, and after this session you do decide to apply, we'll be able to give you to waive the application fee. So that keep in mind in case you decide to go ahead and apply for the MSHS after this information session.
And regarding the application, is it like a rolling basis for? Thank you.
Yes.
I hope to see you this fall, Olivia.
Yes, it's great news, and I'm excited that I could meet you officially. So
Absolutely. That's great. Plus, I'll be teaching the advocacy course. It's synchronous, but it's not a required attendance. So I make all kinds of effort to meet you outside of hours.
I guess my final question would just be, previously I interned with OCHA, and right now I'm at MSF. And just for somebody who has began kind of experiencing the humanitarian field from within these organizations, what skills outside of the thematic areas does the master's focus on specifically, or is that kind of up to the student and their general interest and focus?
Can I kind of answer this, ladies?
Thanks.
Okay. Olivia, I think the absolute knowledge of seeing the overarching system itself, plus understanding how it works as a movement, is something that all of your professors try to put into their courses. So regardless of whether it's, say, advocacy, something that I did for years, or disaster management, something that another professor has focused on and has as their bailiwick, regardless of which one you choose, you're going to get the inside information from people who are actual practitioners in the field. And so not only just the really good theory behind why we do what we do, but what it actually looks like. And Ruth has pulled up the screen that shows you the different knowledge areas like information management. I think that's Joshua's course, is going to go deeply into not only how communication works between organizations and within the field, but what it actually looks like on a day-to-day basis. And I also worked for OCHA. And so I have a really soft spot in my heart for coordinating activities and the work that OCHA was set up to do. And so I talk a lot about that experience, not only within the fundamentals class, but all the classes that I teach.
Thank you. That's very insightful and thank you.
We had a few more people join. We're nearing the end of the information session. This has been recorded, so we hope to send it out to anyone who has missed it. But now would be the time to ask questions. I'm not sure when we'll host an additional live session, so please feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions in the next 5 minutes, or throw them in the chat.
So there's one question in the chat about the application deadline for the MSHS. So Kadi, the MSHS applications is on a rolling basis. So students can apply anytime, but if you would like to start in the fall semester, then you should apply as soon as possible. But we basically accept applications on a rolling basis.
And then the application fee waiver, Ruth, I think that only applies until the end of June.
So what admissions said, basically everyone who has attended today's session, if they decide to go ahead and apply, they will give you a fee waiver.
I think we have about 4 more minutes until we'll wrap up this session. Thank you all so much for joining. I've included all of our social media channels in the chat. We regularly post on there. It's a really good way to see our updates directly from the IIHA, and I definitely recommend signing up for our newsletter as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
See you in the fall.